There was just so much fun and humor in our love, you know? So I think, if anything, I want people to feel that part of it, you know? Senses of humor are what really bonded me and Big from the beginning. Like, that was the first thing, like, oh my God, he got jokes, I got jokes, we got jokes on other people, like, personal jokes. Hey, I'm Faith Evans, and you are watching Okayplayer. I got my start singing professionally. Wow, it sort of was really just by way of knowing people that ended up in the industry, because I sang since I was like 2 years old. Since I could talk, I was singing. So I sang in church, sang in school. As a teenager, I was in a gospel group. We recorded a few records, and the guy who recorded us, he had his little home studio, and I ended up like kind of on the side going to get with him and sneaking out to his studio, and he would teach me how to record myself. But by this time I had, you know, realized that I was also a songwriter, because, you know, I would turn my little poems and stories into songs. It just wasn't a career, it was really a hobby. So I think when I first met Puff and he needed someone to do one line in an Usher record, I was really someone's ride to the studio. I wasn't there to do anything singing. They told him that I could sing, and I went in and asked him, could I rearrange the part? And when I came out, he immediately asked me if I would be interested in signing to his new label. So like my sort of hobby and sneaking out the house to go to the studio in the Bronx, you know, ended up really, you know, making an impression on this guy who was already, you know, very much who he is. You know, he was already very much in the music industry, you know, so obviously he was that impressed to ask me did I want to sign to his label immediately, you know, when that wasn't even my goal necessarily. Not that I thought twice about it after he said it, but, you know. In the very beginning, Puff used to actually walk me to the tanning salon every day and wait for me. Because, you know, when we first met, and I'm like, well, you know, I just had a baby, I gotta lose weight. He's like, no, we're gonna take care of that, da-da-da. We're gonna tan you up, because you're a little pale. You know, he would walk me to the tanning salon and wait for me to be done and walk me back to the office. It was really, you know, obviously he knew he was Puff, but I mean, it was very close, very a family feeling type of environment with Bad Boy. Earlier in my career, before I had 4 children and, you know, all of these things on my plate, I used to go in the booth and just kind of sing the songs off the top of my head and arrange them as I went along, you know. I don't do that as much anymore as I used to, like that whole just make it up, because I don't sit around all day writing songs and singing, you know. I'm doing business things, administrative stuff, and meetings and TV stuff, so, you know. But I used to be a pretty good hot cookie once upon a time, I tell you. My creative process with The King and I definitely approached it the way I would a Faith Evans record, which is I'm just making music that I want to feel right. This is my creative expression of our thing. It's not just, oh, hey, come, you know, make a hot remake of a Biggie song. I really got creative and went in there and dissected his stuff and thought about, okay, what places, I had to make some of those songs make sense to fit into the scheme of the story of our relationship. I had to be really creative, because it's not like most of the songs, probably very few, if any, were about me that he sang. Big's verses were, a lot of his stuff was recorded, especially his first album, before we even met. I mean, for me, when Big passed away, there made no sense to really have gripes with any woman over him, you know what I mean? I had to immediately kick into other mode and figure out the business, the other, you know, and let alone still grieving my own loss. I'm very happy that I was able to see our collaboration happen for this project, because I actually had reached out to Kim to do a song with me a few albums ago, and it didn't happen. So, I mean, I don't know if she didn't want to do it, I was living in Atlanta, you know, I just really didn't have the connect. So, but, you know, God has his timing, and I think that this is how it was supposed to be. I never imagined we would be doing a collaboration on an album with me and Big, and on a song about us both missing him, because when I thought of doing something like this, it was so long ago, and it was just a thought, you know, so. But I'm happy that, you know, things happened the way they did. Well, there are actually a few big vocals I didn't use, and I mean, we've been kind of talking about doing a reissue with a few more songs, or a remix album, because, you know, Ninth Wonder, who's pretty known for doing remixing albums, I gave him the whole album to go ahead and do what he wanted to do with it, so, you know, you might be hearing that pretty soon. Miss Wallace and I are in talks with a company that wants to develop a Biggie hologram. We've seen some early, you know, examples of what it will look like, but to be quite honest, with things like that, typically defer to her. There was a time when she didn't think it was something she wanted to do, and then, you know, a new company approached us and she said, okay. But when using a hologram, you know, you got to be really smart about it and how it's used, when it's used, to really kind of keep it special, you know. I put the album and sequenced it to tell the story because there's so many funny moments that we shared. Because even in the songs that represent the end of our relationship, it still doesn't feel like I don't love you. You know, even in those songs that I'm expressing, okay, well, you tried to play me, but I still love you, you know. I don't know. I do believe if he was alive, we would have tried to get back together again, and if it wouldn't have worked, we'd still be the best of friends, you know, and able to laugh and joke with each other.